and welcome back to another episode of Daily Dose. I'm Jay, your host, and this is Will and Toya.
Hello.
And this is our second episode for our Black History Month edition. Today we're going to be talking about all things Black history, so stay tuned. So first, to introduce you guys, I would like you guys to tell my guest your name, your sign, and your social security.
You out of control.
It's like we're gonna start with an easy question. What did you come to use?
Yeah.
Okay, so first, how did you guys meet?
The internet.
The internet?
Yeah.
Specifically on Facebook.
The Twitter, the Tinder swindler?
Yeah.
Definitely
like
not.
the actual thing. Like I told her I was a doctor at the hospital. She said, "Wow," and she didn't know that I was, not a doctor. No, that's not what happened. We met on Facebook, and I got out of a relationship. She got out of a relationship. We became friends because of our likeness of Barack Obama. I think it was. We was in a group or whatever.
Right. Barack Obama Facebook group, and we had been Facebook friends for like years before we actually started dating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you just swiping past. I don't even know I'm gonna marry this guy in 3 years, but
exactly.
Yeah.
And we started sharing like memes back and forth, and then one day we was just like, hey,
it's a meme love story. It's story instead of love is a meme love. They'll just send memes like your reaction. All reactions be like memes.
All reaction? It was before reactions.
Oh.
You gotta remember, we've been together for a long time. So
Instagram, you can only send.
Go ahead and tell
you
your age.
You had to actually reply to messages.
No reaction. What did you have?
It's a new feature. But yeah, we would send like funny memes back and forth, and then we just struck up a conversation, and that was it.
And here we are.
Yep.
Okay, so I see on your Instagram you guys have Bond Book Club. How did that come about?
Well, I started taking up audiobooks just because I was really busy, and for me, reading, I was dedicating all my actual reading to school. So the audiobooks was like a good way to still stay engaged with reading, but not having to worry about actually sitting down with a book.
Right.
So I would read on my commute. So
nice.
I started doing that, and then Will started doing that, and then together we decided to share our love of audiobooks.
Yep, I followed up, and then outpaced her like generously.
He reads more than me now.
How can you read a book? Harry Potter's size book.
Harry Potter book look thick, right?
But it's not.
It's not thick on audio. I'm telling you, got to get into this.
So how long is the audio? Like an hour?
It be saying stuff like 25 hours.
25.
Or whatever.
Yeah, like a long.
When you break down 25 hours across of a week, you know what I mean? You might read 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day.
So how long would it take you to read it, like
a week?
In your head?
For me, like a week. Usually a book like that. If I'm steady about it, but usually you break it up. I'm only reading 2 hours a day nowadays. Usually, before I was doing a lot more. Nowadays, I'm chilling.
And when you read a book, do you just read one or you read multiple?
No, I read one at a time.
You read one. You do the same thing.
I'm a one at a time person too.
Okay. Is there a book that you would recommend? You getting hot?
No. I was shifting. I was making sure my collar ain't flat. Because I don't know what I look like. So
you look good.
I would suggest How to Be Anti-Racist.
Okay.
Ibram Kendi. That's one of the better books that I read. That's off the top of my head though. I would have to go into my phone and look at
all the other books. Yeah. What about you?
I would say Wandering in a Strange Land by Morgan Jerkins is a really good one. Just because it's one of those books, it gives a lot of historical context, but it also tells a really great story. Okay. So I would recommend that book.
Okay, I'm gonna have to put it right there.
In the 1619 Project that just came out. Check that out.
So do these books reflect what you're passionate about? Because I know you said your book was the first book that you said you would recommend was anti-racism?
Yeah, How to Be Anti-Racist. For me, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm big on racism. I'm interested in racism, trying to figure out why it is, why it exists, why people think the way they think, all that type of stuff. But that usually bleeds into like anti-capitalism, into all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So you gotta focus. You just try to figure out a way.
What about you too?
And I think I like biographies. I'm big on like someone's telling their story.
Really?
So, yeah. So I've listened to all types of biographies. So I would think that's probably my favorite book genre is biography. Though.
That's crazy that you read so much, because I find it really hard to find time to read in school when you're on the road to a doctorate.
I mean, but that's where the audiobooks are really helpful, because what I would do is just pick a time for me that, and I know Will can say the same, that you're kind of doing something, but you're not doing something you have to think about.
Yeah, I gotta try and, it's just, I don't know why it's so hard.
Start with a book that what I would say is people who want to start the audiobook.
I'm not reading no
I'm listening. I feel like just start with a book that you're really interested in. So I feel like when it comes to reading in general, a lot of people start with the book that they feel like they should be reading instead of the book that they really genuinely enjoy. So if it's like, all right, well, if you like the book that talks about the trashy baby mom, baby dad, and all that kind of, like, start with that, and then once you get into the habit of doing, then you start to move around to different genres and stuff, you know. But I think a lot of people, that's where they kind of, get off track, because they're reading something that really is
that they don't have any interest.
They're not interested in yet. You know what I mean?
Okay, so now we're gonna move into like Black History topics. So, what do you think of like the Black History Black Lives Matter, movement? Like, do you think it was necessary? Do you think it was supposed to been happen? Is
the
it
Black Lives Matter movement?
Black Lives Matter.
I mean, the Black Lives Matter movement is one of many movements that's inevitable. You know, in a situation where you create a situation where you have people that's of a lesser status. You know what I mean? So, I think it was necessary.
Yeah. Do you think it was like past its time? Like it should have been happening?
I think it should have been happening. But I mean, I think it's happened. It has happened. I think it's just a reiteration of things that's already happened. Just of a lesser form. I mean, we've gone as far as insurrection. For freedom. You know what I mean? So I think that, it takes a lot to participate in those types of things. But I think it's past due for sure.
Yeah. What about you?
No, cool. Yeah.
I agree. I think that was a long time coming, but I think what with Black Lives Matter that was different from like other movements is the social media aspect. I feel like that played a major role in kind of mobilizing people and getting people under one particular thought, but I do think that we still have a lot of work to do, especially now that Black Lives Matter has become more symbolic, I feel like, and so we have to move from that symbolism to tangible action.
At this point they are excellent, like organizing type of behemoth, if you will, but at the same time it's like when you become too mainstream, you kind of leave a taint on other people who are only half listening. And when they half listen, they only getting half the information, and they're getting that other half from the alternative side, if you will. And it's a negative. Usually, it's a negative perception. So that's why they have to keep evolving. That's why all of the movements evolve the way that they do.
And I think it's just calling people to do beyond. It's more than just putting the Black Lives Matter sign up in your lawn or wearing the shirt, but actually showing it in your everyday actions, and that for people who don't look like us, that might look like giving up privilege, and really putting it to task that what Black Lives Matter is supposed to represent, instead of it just being a symbolism of I'm a good person, or I'm with
What would be something that shows Black Lives Matter in like everyday? Like, off your top of your head, could you give an example of what you think? Because some people might think, it's just putting a sign, like, I believe Black Lives Matter, but I'm not really going to, like, march in. Do you think that's a big part of it? Or maybe just...
I don't think marching has to be. That could be a way that you support. But I think even that can be just a symbolism thing, right?
Marching itself can be something. You can be out there on the front lines. You can be a whole fraud.
That's true. Just out there just because.
And I think too, So what that might look tangible is, getting involved in your local elections, paying attention. And I think one of the most important things is educating yourself. And I think that goes back to reading, some of the books certainly that Will mentioned about just learning about the history. And a lot of time history repeats itself because we're not educated on it. Yeah. So it ends up the same things end up happening. So I think really starts with educating yourself on different groups of people and the history and legacy of American racism and how that transpires. I think a lot of people don't understand. They think racism is Ku Klux Klan and these more egregious acts when really racism is, racial income gap. It's redlining. It's a whole bunch of other things that impact our everyday lives, but people don't necessarily view it that way.
Right.
Excellent. That's exactly what I said.
That's what you said.
No, I mean that's what I would say. Now, I don't even know why I'm here. That's what you know what I mean? Like.
Okay, so what do you think about the woke group of people? The woke group. Like, do you think it's
what is your definition? I guess
of those who are like, or the cancel group and the people who. For like,
it's a number of things. So
here's the thing. That's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing. Because woke has been appropriated.
Right. So
woke to white people means you think rightfully so that a lot of things are racist.
Right.
That they think aren't, with their misunderstanding of what racism is. Right. And you have the woke on the other side, which can be seen like, oh well, everything is, how can I put it?
I understand what you're saying.
If I don't have flaxseed oil, if I don't have sea moss in my system, I'm not black enough. That type of person.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you take into consideration people who deny science because those scientists are white. Yeah. Like that type of.
Yeah.
I don't consider that woke. So, that's, and then cancel culture is a whole another thing. Yeah. Because I don't know that I believe in that. Because people who get canceled still exist. And they still pop in.
And still thrive. Yeah.
So what is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess just embarrassing for a couple weeks and it's like, alright, now I'm back there doing what I was doing before.
Right.
And I think sometimes people get cancel that term, or when really it's holding people accountable. Yeah. And I mean, if I say something and it's problematic and therefore I lose support because I've said that problematic thing, that's a person being held accountable. Yeah. Not necessarily being canceled in the sense of like a frivolous thought. I mean, I shouldn't have to support somebody who goes against or has said something offending a group of people that I believe should be respected and valued. You understand what I'm saying? So I think, again, the terms woke and cancel are very loaded terms because they're kind of subjective now.
Now they are. Yeah. Because of their appropriation. And had they not been appropriated, had they been left alone like other things and left inside the culture, maybe you'd be able to have a conversation about that. But it's like being woke these days, it's like a joke. You know what I mean? It's like somewhere between a joke and realizing what the situation is, which is that, white supremacy is a big problem. Yeah, it's the problem in this country. You know what I mean? So,
do you feel like some people who are canceled? It was kind of a debate I saw on Instagram where people feel like instead of being canceled, I should be educated rather than just canceling me. Teach me why this is wrong. Or do you feel like some things like you should just know why that's wrong? Like,
it's some things that you can be taught because see the problem is a lot of black people, Nick Cannon for instance. A lot of black people don't know about the Jewish situation. Yeah, that's really like
the white situation.
The Jewish situation.
I think he said something problematic.
Oh, okay.
Like if you allude to when the situations that happen when you mention Jewish people in a negative light, and you don't know that you mentioned it in a negative light, you think you're just saying things that is what it is. And it's not. That's actually a tool of white supremacy. Yeah. You end up looking like. When you could be educated on that. I do agree that you can be educated on that. I don't think that there's inherent racism when it comes to everybody. Yeah. At the same time, I do think that people have culture hatred.
Yeah.
And those people, I think they are beyond education.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that it's a you gotta separate those two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think too, some people want to be educated, so genuinely educate me on why that was problematic, so that I can do better. Whereas I've seen, especially like celebrities or some people, double down on the ignorance. And it's like y'all just don't get it. Yeah. When really it's like you're not even opening up your mind to understand why something was problematic and why you should learn more about this particular thing.
And Boozy is a prime example of that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, you're continuously being schooled on why your statements are problematic, only to continue to make problematic statements. It's like, well, you're not understanding the point. And you don't really care about what could happen to people in that community.
Yeah. Because I know, what was it? The baby situation when he was saying, like, the homophobic comments at his concert, and he was saying, like, I think they were saying people were trying to reach out to him to educate him on the term that he was using. I think he was like,
something about HIV.
Yeah.
And it was like, if the people willing to do the work to reach out to you, you got to be somewhat accepting.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because that's the way you gonna keep hold of your celebrity, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna be able to maintain that type of celebrity without. By degrading that large of and that help, not helpless, but what's a good word, like those type of people are in a vulnerable situation. Those type of vulnerable people, I should say. Who are not really helped out loud in media and whatnot.
Right. And I think a lot of sometimes it speaks to just a larger conversation about misinformation. I think sometimes the people who are the loudest sometimes don't have the knowledge to even speak on that. And I think that's one thing that I have learned just by, like, how well, you're a lot younger than us, but we've been on social media, let's say, for years. So I'll look at something I wrote 15 years ago and be like, wow, that was violent. Like, why did you even say something like that? Like, it's a million problems with what you said. And I think that has a lot to do with educating myself and growing and evolving because of that. I feel like some people, they just want to, what they believe is what they believe, and not move on and say, well, why might I believe that way, or what might be problematic about those things, and further gain that understanding so that then you can do better. And I think that
some people still think the way they was
right 15 years ago, and so
it's a long time.
Right. And so I think that too is just a misinformation, and you hold on to that so tight that you end up doubling down on something that's really genuinely problematic. And when you're called out about it, it's like, well, wait a minute, no, that's how I've been thinking 15 years. What you talking about? When really you might need to educate yourself and kind of
So, okay, you know how you said you went back 15 years ago and you see something that you posted. What about those people that, like the Kevin Hart situation? I think when they went back how many years ago and dug up, like, oh, you said this 10 years ago, so you're this and you're that, and like,
I really think it's how you handle it. I think at first, when that first came out, he doubled down.
He did
on it and tried to kind of justify it in a way. And I think sometimes people often say, well, that was then and that was okay then. You can say that, but talk about how problematic it was. Like, like acknowledge that. You know what I mean? What you think, Will?
I think that I don't know. I don't remember what he did. I don't remember what he said. I remember
some homophobic.
I mean, no. I meant following it coming out.
And he stepped down from the. Was it the Grammys or the Emmys or something?
Yeah, it was the Grammys. I don't think he stepped down.
But his initial response was very kind of indignant.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was. I just don't. I think that what comedians have a tendency of doing is using comedy to be hateful. Like nowadays. That's nowadays, but the going back and doing all of that stuff, like, it's like she said, it's how you approach it now. You have to handle that, because we need to know if your views change.
Right.
We need to know if your views changed, and we need to know if that was a joke. Right? And if it was a joke, then haha, right? But if it's not, we need to know who you in solidarity with. The people that hate this community, or the people that's making jokes about this community, to use this jokes to perpetuate hatred, or is you making a joke, and is you an alliance? Is you the folks?
And sometimes jokes can outdate. your jokes rooted in certain stereotypes
It's not
were
wrong.
possibly okay then that aren't okay now. And I think just acknowledging that and saying that's no longer okay and I understand why goes a long way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It would be nothing wrong for that man to be like, yeah, I was wilding back then. I wouldn't say it now.
Yeah,
and, you know, it was funny then. What's funny then ain't funny now.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think everybody recognizes that for what it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But like you said, he doubled down, so that was kind of like, dang, like you just
he tried to justify it, and I think that people confuse like impact over intent.
Yeah.
You can say you didn't intend to be hurtful, you didn't intend to be racist, homophobic, but your impact is hurtful to those groups of people. You have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
You know?
So, MLK promoted equality amongst all Americans, whether black or white. But do you think we would have been better off creating our own societies within America instead of forcing our way into society for the white people in the government?
Nope. I don't think it was going to be no integration
different?
was the only way. Integration was the only way. If you didn't have integration, you would have had a situation where they would have stamped you out in every community, or you would have been driven into certain communities, the only places that you could live. So you would have had that, but you would have had it under duress.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like we already had pockets of integration. Mm-hmm. We already had that. We had before MLK, way before MLK. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about in the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So it's these things existed. It's the hate that was allowed in.
Yeah.
And what MLK did, the equality was a surface level grasp of his message and experience in the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. And he was the only one. And he wasn't the only one. He was one of many. So it's a lot to unpack with MLK. Yeah, I just feel like he wasn't just about equality. He was about equity. You know what I mean? And it wasn't just about oh yeah, if I could do it, you could do it. It was about I should be allowed to gain the same amount of money, have the same experience, have the same and be able to gain the same equity from whatever situation that I'm involved in that you're involved in.
Because then everything would have been separate. You would have had two of the same everything, right? If you
wouldn't have had two of the same anything. You would have had two. You just would have had two. Right. You would have had two separate things. They wouldn't have been two of the same. And that's why what was the it was the case. Was it Dred Scott? Not Dred Scott. It was the school board case where they deemed
Brown versus Board of Education.
Yeah. So when you have situations like that where they deemed it wasn't equal, because you can see that it wasn't equal. You know what I mean? So integration was the only way. Yeah. And integration is the only way. Every Marcus Garvey talked about let's go to Africa.
Yeah, I saw that.
A lot of people talked about that, but integration in this country was the only way.
Yeah. What about now? You still think that?
I still think that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the problem is you got a lot of white people that are culture in their hatred, like I said earlier. Yeah. So what do you do with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that we needed to live in a separate society or anything like that. But I think what it was resources were on different levels. So kind of what Will said about the equity piece. That's really been what our issue is. And that's what Martin Luther King was about. I think people look at equality as a surface level, right? If I have 6 marbles, you should have 6 marbles. Yeah. And that's necessarily equality. But if you've been able to have 6 marbles every year over generations and now you have 36 marbles, yeah, I might get, and I'm starting from just 6.
And your marbles are worth more than mine.
Right, your marbles are worth more than mine. Your marbles are bigger than mine. Then we both were given 6 marbles, but your 6 marbles means very different things to you than it does to me. Yeah. So I think that, and this is, I think, a problem too, that we tend to encapsulate Martin Luther King as representing just one thing when he really had, similar to Black Lives Matter, how a lot of people don't understand that Black Lives Matter has a whole kind of agenda of things. The Black Panther Party had a whole agenda of things. Martin Luther King, whole agenda of things, but we kind of encapsulate him as like the guy that's about equality for all and the color of your skin shouldn't matter type of thing. But he talked about a lot of different things that were more about equity and us living better. It wasn't so much, I feel like, that our schools were separate. It was more about our schools were a lot less. We had less resources, but we see that now. Even though we are integrated in the sense that you can go to a certain school, you might be socially segregated in your experience, right? You might be, you know, made to feel uncomfortable or not given the same high expectations as your white, you know, other white students. So it's a lot of nuance to, like I do agree with Will. I think that at this point, us living in a separate way wouldn't necessarily be something that we could do immediately and it work. So if we are going to live on integration, we have to work towards equity and making sure everybody is fairness.
Yeah.
And everybody's able to have the equal chances and opportunities and resources and knowledge. And I think that that's where that conversation, I feel like, is starting to be more about, is addressing equity and not so much just giving people the same thing.
And it's a shame that we just getting there.
Right.
Because they've been talking about this since Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just a little pathetic.
Do you feel like you felt that you were getting lesser at growing up? Like, that you noticed it when you're younger? Like, why is that?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, me and her came up differently. So, like, I came up, like, I wasn't in his class with a white kid until high school.
Oh, well.
You know what I mean? I wasn't around white people.
Yeah.
I literally didn't have a white classmate probably until 10th grade.
For real?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, you know, maybe on class trips you seen them or whatever, but you know, when I got back home, you were completely segregated.
Yeah.
I'm sure her experience was completely different.
Yeah. so I grew up in a predominantly white area.
Okay.
So but you do but like I said, for us it can be like a social segregation, feeling excluded from certain things. I know that, you know, when you're in the gifted and talented program or just these different AP classes and stuff, you wanted to. Yeah. Instead of, you know, seeing, and that doesn't necessarily have to do with a lack of ability of other black students, but, you know, I mean, like kind of that social segregation or that those expectation, we weren't, you know, pushed to necessarily, oh yeah, you should go for that AP class. Like, nah, you good with just keeping it simple, right? You know what I mean? So it's those so it's those kind of things. So what really was valuable to us is the black faculty in our school. We had a librarian who was black and really involved. So she's the one that was like, nah, we're gonna have an African American Culture Club. We're gonna make sure that y'all go on college tours and see different colleges and experience different things. You know, I went to Temple and she's the one that coordinated that trip so that I can go and, you know, experience that. And so, you know, like I think it's important to also have the black educators and different things in all spaces, because they're able to really look out for us and push us to have those high expectations when others maybe not see that in us.
Yeah, and it's something you can connect to, like, oh, I'm gonna go to the black teacher.
Right. Right.
Wait, but you was in AP classes and you got a 2?
Huh? You
took an AP class and got a 2?
No. What I was saying was, you might have an AP class.
I thought you was
and only being 2 people in it. No. Like only 2 black people in it. Yeah, you might see very few black people in those type of classes. Okay. And that would be and we weren't really pushed to go to those, to take those classes and stuff like that. That was my point.
Okay, yeah, okay. Not that I get you. I was about to say, dang, you want to know my score.
Even if we're in a space where, you know what I mean, we are receiving the same education, but sometimes we're still not given the same tools and attention and knowledge.
Proximity to whiteness doesn't necessarily mean you're getting the same resources.
Exactly.
So you can have the same information, but if you got the books are tattered, you know what I mean. If your classroom is dilapidated, then you know, it becomes a rough situation.
But do you think that's a plus, going to like black school or black school district, because maybe the students and the teachers are all black, so maybe the teachers are more willing to push the students because, like, okay, this is
not all black though. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's
not all black. They more black now.
Yeah. Like my high school was like 60-40.
Gotcha.
It was like 65.
And I think even now, like the like in Philadelphia, for example, the teacher workforce is predominantly white, because at one point,
it is.
Once segregation, was outlawed, white teachers had access to now black teacher positions. So black faculty were kind of pushed out. But I do think that yes, there is value in having educators that look like you. Yeah. So I definitely agree with that. Yeah. But I think too.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, that it's important on a lot of different levels. It's just people who kind of understand your culture, understand who you are, and also in this world, people who see your potential beyond, like, because I think some people who don't look like us might think black students are only capable of doing certain things.
Unfortunately, because that's we keep forgetting that that's a core tenet of this country. I think that when we look at the history of this country, you can't take away the fact that the history of this country is white people looked at black people as lesser than. They didn't look at them as human beings. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when you come from that, and then all of a sudden, of the 500 years of your existence, of the 50th year, like on the 450th year, you realize that people are people. You know what I mean? You all of a sudden now you think they fair. It's not. It don't work that way. Right. So of course we only a few generations away from like harsh discrimination. So it's just it's hard to believe that never mind.
No, you can say it.
No, I'm not going to say it. We're going to go on.
Okay. But yeah, I do think that now, do I necessarily think like, oh, it should be, if you got all black school, you should have all black teachers? No, I'm not saying that, but I do think that there should be representation at a school of the kids that are there. You shouldn't necessarily have a totally different demographic teaching a totally different group of kids because there is a cultural relevance. There is a disconnect there. You know what I mean? So
so HBC, I guess that's where HBCUs came in.
Well, HBCUs came in more so because we weren't allowed to be in.
You got an HBCU because you couldn't go nowhere else.
And so I think that like equity's always got to be a part of the conversation because yes, can you go to a HBCU? Yes, it should have the same resources and access to resources as a lot of these other long-standing institutions.
All of their resources came from slavery.
Right.
And once we take that into consideration, when you got free money, right, coming in for 300 years or so, you can have a long-standing, the people that's donating money to you getting their money from slavery. Everybody, the whole building is built by slaves. All of it is slavery. So you got free stuff. Everything you got on the backs of other people. We have to add that. We have to always talk about that when we talk about if we think that these things should exist or shouldn't exist, or if we think that they should be funded, or how well they should be funded, or all of these things, where the money should come from and all of that stuff, because the money comes from, they have a lot of donors that donate money that come from slavery. Like that's what we always forget. Like this money don't come from just from anywhere to fund Penn, to fund Harvard, to fund, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff, it comes from slavery. And we forget that.
And I think, HBCUs have to kind of get it out the mud, like start from the bottom type and build their way up. Now they have, a lot of them did have like white donors in the beginning and stuff, but when you think about a college has alumni dollars, right? So if black people make less and we also don't have access to certain job opportunities that pay certain things, so your whole alumni population may not be in a position to give, and then let's not even talk about how debt plays on black students. That's right, a whole other issue. So black students have to put themselves in debt to fund their education in a way that some white students have had, but some don't have to necessarily do that. So it's kind of like you're trying to. So I think when it comes to funding HBCUs and then from an equity lens, they need more support because of the legacy of racism, as Will pointed out, and how these big institutions have benefited from that. I mean, your whole campus was built for free. That's a big difference from, you get what I'm saying?
And that support shouldn't only come from black people.
Absolutely.
Frankly, I think it shouldn't only come from black people. I think it should come from people who benefited from towards the slavery. Frankly.
But I think it's where reparations and that kind of conversation
comes in,
you know what I mean? And what reparations should kind of look like. But do
you think reparations is coming?
But I think that I don't. I think they'll wait. They'll wait until as long as they can.
I definitely don't think in our lifetime, but
maybe in yours at the end. If we still here, if climate don't take us out first, you know what I mean?
At the very end.
Yeah.
But I think we should definitely still take politicians to task about it, because I do think that
because it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, weren't they supposed
to? They can do it.
They can.
Yeah, absolutely. They got it.
Mm-hmm. So would it come from straight the government or each state?
Both. Whatever it could be whatever they want it to be. It could be a multitude of things, but it doesn't. It has to be a payout. Mm-hmm. Right, and it has to be something that builds equity. It has to be something that puts people on the same pedestal as everybody else. If it don't do that, then it ain't reparations.
Right.
You're not repairing anything.
So it's not. So is it just straight like checks, or
it's not straight checks? It can't be straight checks
because that's like the marble example. You just gonna give me the 6 marbles and say that's supposed to take care of the whole time when I was getting my marbles up. You know what I mean? Like, no.
So
it can't be just
would
a
be an
straight
example
check.
of like a good example of reparations?
I think it has to be multifaceted. It has to be looking at policies
in so many ways. I just read a book on this. You should read a book called, if we on live, we should read a book called From Here to Equality. And it's about Martin Luther King and his strive for, all of this stuff. And it's perfect. It talks about reparations and the people who study this. It's a whole number of people who are backing this and putting it to the Senate and trying to get this legislation passed. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it happens. I can't see it for our lifetime, like she said, but
Yeah, but it definitely.
But it would include a multitude of things. To your point.
Yeah, multitude of policy changes of policy, having programs, having some monetary things, but it would have to be a multitude of things.
I need free school. I need free car. I need free housing for my kids. I need my water bill paid. I need all that stuff paid for the next several lifetimes across to my family life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to pay for nothing here. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Nah, that's
the book is amazing though.
Yeah,
y'all should check it out. Because I read that From Here to Equality.
From Here to Equality. Okay.
And I read that book about 5-10 books ago.
Really? So
that's why you forget some stuff. I can't sit here and spit like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm on to another book. That's about other stuff. So it's like, I take notes.
Okay. I think that's good. I think we just end there. Do you have anything else to say that you want to say? Because I know you have a lot of things that you could
say. You can tell because her eloquency, is everything. I'm scattered.
No, you're not. Well, you're fine.
You did good.
Yeah.
No,
see, you hold your tongue that one time. Even though I wanted you to say it.
It was unnecessary. And I don't know. I would just say read more. That's all I would tell people to do. Is read more. Try to learn as much as you can about the world around you, because it's not. Nothing is black and white. Everything got gray to it. That's what I would say. Because people who tell you black and white things are typically trying to either they're ill-informed or they're trying to purposely mislead you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's all I would say.
And I think, to piggyback off of what he said, reading more is definitely, and however you get it, don't think that audiobooks is going to be a lesser way of, you can still understand information, be able to remember that information just as you would, reading and opening a book. So just get it in however you can. So if you're at the gym and you pop on an audiobook, do it then. If you're driving or you commute to wherever you're going, just do it then. Just find some time to educate yourself on these type of issues and topics, because I think that we have to understand that if we're misinformed, how can we advocate for ourselves? How can we really hold people accountable to treat us right if we're misinformed and we're just kind of going off of? And I know that Instagram's a great source and social media's a great source of information, but it's also a misinformation machine as well. So we really have to be mindful of
it's
that.
It's real cool to pick up news from Shade Room and all of that stuff, because it's quick and it's spicy. It reads to us. You know what I'm saying? It's like they
grab your attention real quick. They talking
in our language. They got the color schemes up. They got the pictures. They're like, right there looking all crazy. Kanye, Pete, all looking all nuts.
Right.
And when you deep dive into it, it don't really be that.
Yeah.
You just gotta read.
They give you all the little juicy details, and it's like, for more.
Yeah.
It's
clickbait.
Yeah.
A lot of it is clickbait. A lot of it is lies. A lot of it is just trying to feed you some stuff to make you, a little more worried than you should be about things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Right, and
this is not pertaining to the vaccine or the pandemic or any, because I know
just
people will take these. I don't want anybody to take these.
Oh, he said that.
And then be
Cancel
pulling
Daily Dose.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be like, "Oh my God, she a vaxxer.
Oh well,
she's pro-vaccine.
I knew
you don't need her on the internet."
Right. But definitely just educate yourself. Make sure the sources are reputable. If you do read something, definitely don't try not to share misinformation, because I think it can be easy, especially when people invest time. They make it look, like Will said, they make it look nice and it looks legitimate, and it's really something that feeds into a misinformed type of narrative. Because I think white supremacy benefits when black people are misinformed. They benefit the most, because we end up agreeing with stuff that is really a detriment to
all
us.
Of these stupid factions. You want to separate MLK from Malcolm and all of that stuff. These people are fighting for the same cause. You have to understand that these people came to the same conclusion. White supremacy is the problem. It's always been the problem.
Right.
And that's the one thing. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was
Black
good.
History Month.
Happy Black History Month. That was good.
I hope it's good. I hope it comes out good.
Yeah.
It'll be good. Thank you guys so much for joining another episode of Daily Dose, and we'll see you next time.